Everybody, Meg Ruler 31 back here for FSI DFS. I'm going to be breaking down the massive 15 game every team playing slate for Friday, 9/24. Getting towards the end of the baseball season. Appreciate you still watching and grinding away with us. This slate is not as intimidating as some 15 game slates. I think it's pretty straightforward because pitching, I think there's a lot that you can just eliminate, and hitting wise, I think there's a lot you can eliminate also. So let's just run through pitching quick, and I'm just going to shoot them down like one by one here because Burns, they have starting for DK, but MajorLeagueBaseball.com has Lauer starting, who's much better. I think his price tag is like 89, which isn't bad at all. So he's Lauer's, I would say, is more in play against the Mets. Burns is not playing, so don't play him. Bieber is coming back from the IL. He's going to go only a couple innings or so just to get warm backed up, so don't play him. Garrett Cole, I think he is going to be who you want to take as your SP1 tonight if you're paying up, because he's against Boston and they need to win. And I know he had a clunker last time out, but he has been consistent and decent. However, there's rain in Boston, so we'll have to see how that's going to affect the game. It looks like it might just be a little wet. There might be a delay. They should get through it, but if it's going to rain in the middle of it and he's going to get pulled early and then they go to the bullpen, then he's not going to pay off his price tag. So he's mildly risky there. Montas gets Houston, just way too much to pay against a team that doesn't strike out, even though he's a good pitcher. I don't think at 10-6, I'm really interested in him. GPP, possibly. Flaherty is coming in as an opener at 10-2. No, thank you. No way. I don't get this, DK. What are you doing? So off on that. Evaldi, he's been having a solid season. The Yankees have been known to struggle every so often, sometimes don't show up for big games. So I think he's definitely in consideration if you're paying up between he and Cole if the weather's okay. And maybe in some situation, if you think it's going to be a low scoring game, then take both of them. So I think they're definitely viable. Barrios also against Minnesota. Top of the lineup has a little bit of pop to it. They did pretty well last night, but Matz is not as good a pitcher as Barrios. Bottom of the lineup, definitely some Ks there. So I think, if you're paying up, and I think he's a little bit safer than Evaldi, but I think Evaldi has a little bit more upside. Fried, I don't mind. I think he's going to be really kind of the odd man out. Playing against the Padres, who aren't as good as they were earlier in the season. They've struggled. They have flashes of brilliance every so often, but I don't think I'm really going to look at him if I land on him tonight, but I don't think he's really in my equation. I think I'd rather have Barrios or like Evaldi here over him. Long reliever for San Diego against Atlanta, 92. No, like DK, come on. Kim, he's coming and following Flaherty. And this is the second game of a doubleheader. So it's a shorter game. So could he go to the end of the game and get the win? Potentially, but 9-2 I think is a little too high for it. And the other thing about this game, and we'll get to when we talk about bats, is the wind is blowing out like 20, maybe up to 25 miles per hour. So no. Now we're talking. Dylan Cease. Chicago White Sox against Cleveland. Yes, Cleveland, again, can put together every so often, but Cease is having a really good season. And 9K, I think he is probably, if Cole doesn't go, my favorite pitcher to start with as my SP1. Only a little bit of caution is they did clinch in game one of their doubleheader last night. So the White Sox are kind of on cruise control. I don't believe that they can catch Tampa Bay for the best record. So I think, they're just kind of going to play it out. So does that mean that maybe he only gets 5 innings instead of 7? But I think in that time, definitely in the context with the matchup, he's might be one of the safest and best options. McGill, I think, is a little risky out of the mid-range pitchers that we're starting to get into now. I think he'd be my 4th favorite. I'd rather play Gray here against Cincinnati, even though it's in the Great American Small Park. I think he definitely has some upside. So, if you think Cease is not going to go as far because Chicago is on cruise control, or you want to save $400, and Gray is definitely an equation. Wood is a good pitcher, not take him in Colorado. Gibson, here I think is where we really start in the value area. And I think Gibson is your first conversation for SP2. If you're not paying up for two pitchers, I think he would be my second choice. Let me just scroll down here, because I think who we're really going to look at is Gilbert down here. Couple 20-point games back to back. Last time we faced the Angels, and it wasn't recently, it was a while ago, it was 25 DK points. Yeah, he's had some struggles here and there, but overall he has been very solid. The Angels really don't have much besides Tani in the lineup. So definitely I think SP2 starts with him. But if not, if you want to go with a really good matchup against Pittsburgh, I think Gibson, they're in playoff mode. He's going to definitely get the innings here, unlike, where we talked about Cisse, who might be like held back a little bit because they're already made the playoffs. Then I think he's a good option. Just keep in mind too, you're going to have Lauer in between here in the 8K range at some point. I can't remember what his pricing was. Let me see if I can look that up quick. On DK, but definitely and Lauer might be a little bit of a risk too, because again, Milwaukee pretty much has everything wrapped up also. So he is going to come in. Okay, they don't have him up because they think that, no wonder I can't find him, because they think that Burns is pitching. So he comes in at 8.9. So that's definitely not a bad price. For him, I think he's an option. But again, I think Cisse is number one. Gray would be number two. Lauer would probably be number three. And then McGill would be number four in that range. But then as you drop down here, for value pitchers, I think Gilbert, it probably going to be my SP2. I love the savings here at 6.4. If you want to pay up a little bit more, that's fine. Gibson isn't a great situation here. Then the final guy I could consider would be Hernandez from Kansas City. He comes in at 5.5 against a Detroit team. I think, if you're looking for a punt play, I'm not saying that he's like super safe, but I think he's definitely more than viable. I think he's a solid play if you're looking to save some money there. The only other guy I would consider in pitching here would be Greinke with at 7K against Oakland, who's a little bit risky, but that's a really good price tag for him. Probably only going to go like 5 innings, but Oakland has a couple Ks in the lineup. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit contrarian, I go there and maybe consider Espinino, but it's against Cincinnati in the Great American Ballpark, so that's kind of risky. So that sets us up for pitching. Let's just talk bats here. Pretty simple. We're starting at Coors Field. We're going San Francisco. Pricing on these guys is decent. You don't have any of the guys in like high 6K price totally up for Coors. There are some good plays like La Stella at 3.9. It's definitely, Yastrzemski had a home run last night. He's in play, even though he bats down low in the lineup. Maybe he'll pop up further. Lefty righty matchup. Wade's been solid. So there's just, some of these guys are expensive, but this stack is not hard to get in there, even with some good pitching. And we'll talk about that in just a second. And then even look at 4.3 is the highest price for the Colorado Rockies against Wood, who's been a solid pitcher, but definitely in Coors Field. And the Giants, I haven't seen a 7 total in a long time. It's just amazing amount. So Coors is definitely where you need to start in cash. And you can make it work with high price pitchers, because let me tell you something that is, we usually say, when we do these videos, to play the pitchers when you have a doubleheader game, because they have a potential for a decent pitcher. If they go 7 innings, they might get a complete game shutout, and that gets you a lot of points. So that's definitely something to look at. However, with the wind blowing out in the pitching matchups, or who's pitching and how they're doing with the opener stuff for St. Louis, and how bad Davies is as a pitcher for Chicago, look at the pricing for these bats. It is crazy with wind blowing out and everything. These guys are like 3K and in the 2K range. Like you have like Bote, who's a really good power hitter for like 2-3. It doesn't have the splits, but still like Carlson is at 2-1. Like even like Duffy's got some pop at like 2K who should probably start. Like Newbar might get in there. It's the second game of the, so you might get some of these younger bats in there, but this is crazy. Like look at how cheap a St. Louis stack is. This is amazing pricing. And the thing with St. Louis too is they're the away team, so they're guaranteed at least 7 at bats. So you might lose just one, but you might actually pick up that extra bat if they like get a lot of hits and crush Davies with the wind blowing out. You might get as many at bats out as the St. Louis team as you would out of any other team that you played tonight that just plays in a 9-inning game. Especially like if you look at like Tampa Bay, who's got a really good matchup for them against the Miami pitcher. You take the lefties there, and then like a lefty comes in from the bullpen and they get pinch hit for because they have a really deep bench, or like the Dodgers have a really deep bench. They're in another great situation tonight. And if you're not playing Coors Field, I definitely say play the Dodgers, but they're very expensive. And you might see now them like starting to mix and match later on if they get a big lead. So you might get less at bats from paying up for a Dodger or for a Tampa Bay guy that you really like in a great situation. You might get less at bats than some of these St. Louis guys. So definitely this is the one time that I'm going to say, consider taking bats from these games to fill out your lineup. In a GPP, stack the whole game and pay up for like 2 pitchers if you can. If things change and maybe another guy goes up, or don't take some of the trap guys we talked about. But if you want to play like Cole and Cisse, I think those would be the top pairings, or even Cole and Eovaldi in the same game if you think it's going to be low scoring, or if you want to take a shot on like Montas and thinks that he can hold Houston at bay, maybe get a couple strikeouts. He's a 10K pitcher. Like you can play around. I think it's a fun night to do that with like how many options you have. So just going back to bats, San Francisco is definitely going to be my favorite one. Colorado would probably be number 2, but I think I like them more in a GPP. The Dodgers, Toronto, Tampa Bay lefties, I really like them in the matchup that we have. For that, don't know why I lost video there. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, now we're back. Sorry if the video cut out there for a second. So anyways, those are the favorite ones. For GPP, I think Colorado, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Philadelphia lefties might be another stack to take against the Pittsburgh opener situation. The opener, I think, is a lefty, but the long relief guys are righty and is really, really bad against lefties. And then some cheap stacks. Again, we talked about it yesterday, the Texas and Baltimore game, 2 bad teams, 2 bad pitchers, 2 bad bullpens should lead to a lot of runs. So that's another game stack that I really would kind of recommend. Kansas City potentially against in their matchup could put up some runs. And I think if you're looking for leverage, Cleveland, if Cisse is going to be popular, Boston or New York could be leverage ones against their pitching opponents. Houston against Montas, I think will be very, very, very low owned. And then I think the Angels would be also the low owned one too if Gilbert's going to be popular. So let's build a lineup and get you out of here and back on your weekend. So go back to all games here. So for pitching, like I said, I'm really going to look at Cole, and then I think Gilbert is definitely where I want to go for. If you want to go down to Cisse, that's going to open up a lot of more salary for you. So let's go out and pick San Francisco for the hitters. And you're going to have some choices here. Crawford, he's been okay for the season. Really doesn't have as much power recently. So I don't know about him. I'll take Bryant. You might want to play him in outfield because there are some cheaper third base options, especially like in that Cubs game, over outfield guys that I'd really like. But I think the debate's going to come down between Posey or Crawford. So I'm going to go Posey for now. Wade Jr. Yastrzemski is definitely possibly in play, but I prefer La Stella. And then Belt is definitely a lock there. So these are the 5 I'm going to build around. You have 2-7 left. So, you have to see what cheap guys you can fill in with. One definite lock guy to fill in is on the other side of the game. It's Garrett Hampson, 2,700, probably leading off, lefty righty matchup, perfect. So then just figure out the other two. If you drop down from Cole to Cisse, that gives you, a little bit more money to play for. Like if you want to try to get Trevor Story in, how much is he? Let's see if that actually leaves you enough money. That leaves you 29 left. So, and that works. If you want to try to get Blackman too, you might need to drop down like Cisse to something else if you're trying to go full game stack there. Or like you said, if you want to get the Cubs in here, that works. Maybe drop Posey and that put in Crawford because there's not really a shortstop in that game I like. But then you could put Contreras there. If you move Bryant to outfield, then you can get like Duffy at minimum price in there, or another guy, and then an outfielder that works. Like I said, Carlson, I think was the really, really cheap one there. So lots of ways to mix and match. This is definitely the way that I'm going to look to build in cash. Is I'm going to get as many San Francisco bats with that holiday total in as I can, and then there's so many pitching options. Cole Gilbert would be my preferred one. Cisse Gilbert would be second. If I need to, if I have some money left over, I might pop up Gilbert to Gibson, who's in that Philadelphia game. I think that he's going to go long into the game and get some strikeouts against Pittsburgh. So definitely some ways to go tonight. So sorry for the technical difficulties in the middle if things cut out, but thanks for watching. If you have any questions or if you missed anything because things cut out, leave some comments below. Hit me up on Twitter at MetaGorilla31. Give us a like. We appreciate you still watching these videos this time of the season. We're going to guide you through these last couple weeks and then into the playoffs, and hopefully as everybody focuses on college football and NFL and hockey starting up soon and all these other things, you can continue to make money on MLB. And again, we appreciate you watching. So thanks a lot. Good luck tonight, and we will see you next time.